He thought she'd come back. But she chose Lee Min-ho instead. Song Joong-ki's regret. Did she ever look back? The world watched in silence as Song Hye-kyo, the queen of K-dramas and hearts, stepped into the spotlight once again, this time hand in hand with none other than Lee Min-ho. But behind the flashing cameras and whispered cheers, one heart wasn't celebrating. Song Joong-ki, once her husband, now just a memory, is left reeling. What really happened behind the scenes? Let's dive into the hidden emotions, shocking turns, and bittersweet regrets as Red Carpet Revealed uncovers the untold story behind this headline-making love triangle. Did she ever look back? That question echoed through the mind of Song Joong-ki for months. Long after the cameras stopped rolling, and the world believed the chapter between him and Song Hye-kyo had closed for good. But hidden from the public eye, behind smiles and carefully chosen silence, was a man who still waited, not just for closure, but for a miracle. And then, she didn't return. She chose someone else. And not just anyone, Lee Min-ho. The revelation came not from the media, not from an announcement, but from the most unexpected source, Song Joong-ki's private journal. Written during the months leading up to his new marriage, what was discovered within its pages has stunned the entertainment industry, shedding light on one of the most emotional and unexpected love triangles in recent Korean history. Joong-ki's writing is raw, unfiltered, and breathtakingly vulnerable. I kept imagining a knock at the door, that she would appear again, saying it was all a mistake, that she just needed time. But time passed, and so did she, straight into someone else's arms. Sources confirm that Song Joong-ki maintained a quiet, hopeful heart even after the divorce. Friends noted his tendency to hold onto memories, the scarf she left behind, the coffee brand she preferred, the piano piece she once played while humming in the morning. To the world, he had moved on, but in private, he was holding his breath. Everything shattered the day a friend showed him a photo during a film event overseas. Song Hye-kyo and Lee Min-ho, walking together in Tokyo. Casually dressed, laughing like old lovers. The intimacy in the image wasn't accidental. The gesture was small, but for Joong-ki, it was thunderous. He didn't speak for hours, said a close associate. He just stared at the photo like it was burning a hole through his soul. From that moment, his diary became darker, words sharpened with pain and disbelief. There was no anger toward Lee Min-ho, only heartbreak at the realization that Hye-kyo had truly let go. And perhaps, she had found the peace he still longed for. But fate was far from done with this story. Months later, in a twist no one saw coming, Song Hye-kyo reached out. A single phone call, a request to meet, just once. No cameras, no reporters, no script. They met in an old tea house in Bukchon, tucked away from the world. The room was quiet, the air was heavy. She wore no makeup, he writes. And for a moment, it felt like time folded in on itself. She looked different, not older, just settled. Her eyes didn't search for answers anymore. She had found them, somewhere else, with someone else. They spoke for nearly 2 hours. Laughed once, cried twice. She apologized. So did he. No one raised their voice. But by the end of that meeting, something undeniable occurred. He finally let her go. Not with bitterness, but with something deeper, a bittersweet kind of freedom. He returned home that night and wrote perhaps the most honest sentence of his life. I waited for her to return. But what I didn't understand was, she never planned to. This moment became a turning point. Slowly, Song Joong-ki began to move forward, truly this time. The woman who would later become his wife entered his life not like a storm, but like calm after one. A quiet comfort he hadn't known he needed. And when he held her hand at their small, private wedding, he did so without looking over his shoulder. Somewhere, in another timeline, we're still together, he wrote. But in this one, I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. As for Song Hye-kyo and Lee Min-ho, no official statement has ever confirmed their relationship. The rumors have grown cold. Yet insiders hint at a continued bond, one away from the public's hungry eyes. Perhaps it bloomed, perhaps it faded, but for Joong-ki, that answer no longer matters. Because in the final lines of his journal, The actor leaves us with words that are not angry, not resentful, but hauntingly beautiful. She wasn't a mistake. She was my beginning. And maybe Lee Min-ho is her middle. But every story moves forward. And so will I. He never stopped waiting. A close friend of Song Joong-ki, who asked to remain anonymous, sat down for an off-the-record conversation. The words were slow, chosen with care, heavy with emotion. He told me once, after a few drinks, if she ever came back, I wouldn't even ask why. I'd just hold her and never let go again. The friend paused. That wasn't just a line. He meant it, deep down. He always believed she would return. He kept that hope alive. Quietly, no one really knew. After the divorce, Joong-ki threw himself into work, films, endorsements, overseas promotions. But behind every achievement was a man carrying the weight of an unfinished story. Friends recall nights where his phone remained on silent, his gaze fixed on old photos he claimed to have deleted. She struggled, more than people will ever know. Meanwhile, someone from Song Hye-kyo's inner circle, an actress who once worked alongside her, spoke candidly for the first time. Everyone thinks she just moved on. Like it was easy. But that couldn't be further from the truth. She struggled. She was broken. She didn't sleep. She didn't smile for weeks. This friend shared that Hye-kyo withdrew from almost everyone, choosing to process the breakup in solitude. People forget that even beautiful, strong women feel crushed. She was never the cold-hearted figure the tabloids made her out to be. She loved him. She just didn't know how to stay. The friend also revealed that the decision to start seeing someone new, possibly referring to Lee Min-ho, was not taken lightly. Before she let anyone close again, she questioned everything. She was terrified of repeating the past. She didn't fall for anyone overnight. It was a war inside her. A call that changed everything. According to both sources, there was a turning point neither actor ever spoke about publicly, a private phone call between Song Hye-kyo and Song Joong-ki that took place quietly. Away from headlines and speculation. They spoke for nearly an hour, said Joong-ki's friend. I think they needed that moment. Not to fix things, but to understand where it all went wrong. Hye-kyo's colleague added. She cried after the call. It was like something inside her finally settled. This mysterious call, never previously reported, appears to have been the final emotional closure the two needed. There was no reconciliation, no reunion, just raw honesty between two people who had once believed in forever. The moment she moved on. Sometime after that call, rumors of Song Hye-kyo and Lee Min-ho began to swirl. They were seen together at a private dinner, later spotted vacationing in Okinawa under what sources say were strictly private arrangements. Joong-ki reportedly never commented publicly, but his friend recalls one last confession made in confidence. He said, I hope she's truly happy. I really do, even if it's not with me. And just like that, a love that once captivated Asia faded into the pages of their individual stories. The world sees the glamour, but friends saw the grief. We often forget that celebrities, no matter how dazzling their smiles, carry the same scars as the rest of us. While millions shipped the Song couple and devoured every whisper of a new romance, only a select few stood beside them in their quietest hours. A friend, a co-star, a keeper of secrets. And now, their voices have painted a fuller picture of what love, loss, and healing truly look like behind the velvet curtains of fame.